The government agency that supports films.
Well, it's non-governmental, actually.
Sorry, it's now non-governmental. I'm sorry, that changed.
Yeah,
right.
well, it's sponsored by the government.
That's right, sponsored by the government. COFIC is supposed to be non-governmental, but it's also sponsored by the government. All the money comes from the government. So, and then we have Matthew here, who's from Hong Kong Asian Film Financing Forum, and that's another project market in Hong Kong. And Dong-Chul here is from Pusan, the Asian project market, and also he'll be able to tell you a little bit about the Asian the Asian Cinema Fund as well, which is several different kinds of ways to get money from the Busan Film Festival. So originally we were a little bit worried that it might be a little boring to talk about all of this on and on, but you know, in the end, there's money to be had. They're very willing to give it to you. You just have to find out how, what the conditions are, and maybe that will be interesting enough, hopefully. So yeah, I don't know how many of you were sitting in on the first panel earlier today with Lorna and Stefan, but just, right. So just looking at that, I mean, I liked what Lorna said about project markets, how, you know, people are talking about social media and so on, but when you go to project markets like HAF or APM, you end up meeting a lot of people, like, even if you don't get money straight away or investors straight away or co-producers straight away, you're meeting with programmers from different film festivals and also other project markets, and you're getting the word out there about your film and really sitting down one-on-one to present what you're doing ahead of time, and that really creates a basis. It sort of lays down the soil for what kind of response you can get afterwards, after you have completed your film. So that's also interesting too, and also we'll be asking them each about what kind of cash prizes they have, and also what kind of services that you can win in kind. But I think, Sten, are we showing trailers for My Way? And okay, so just to mention, you know, it's pretty extraordinary if you think about it. These people are from like Korea, Hong Kong, Korea again, Japan. I'm also Korean, but I work for a British trade magazine. And we're here in the Baltics, which I think is amazing. And thank you very much, Sten, for bringing us over. But just to give a few examples of how this is not like so extraordinary or completely new, CJ Entertainment, which is Korea's largest investor distributor, has already shot 2 films in Latvia. One was My Way, a big war film by Kang Jae-gyu, and then the other one is an upcoming film by the director of, which one would you know, Arahan and Daibad. His name is Ju Seung-wan, and his film is Berlin File, and it's also been shot in Latvia, and I think they're in post-production at this point. So, and also, you know, Oh Jung-wan, one of the producers who was on the panel earlier, a Korean producer who's here again with her director Lee Yoon-gi, whose film Come Rain Come Shine is also screening in the festival here. So you can check that out. They're looking for co-production partners and locations for their film. Also, I think there was someone else. Yes, Chun Gyu-hwan, another Korean director who has The Wait, which is screening here as well in competition, is also here looking for locations and perhaps partners. So like there are people already here that are looking for partners or already working with the Baltics, and you can actually check out their work and see if you might be interested in working with them. And if you do find someone simpatico with you, there is, like I said before, money to be had. And I think we'll just start off with, COFIC, Mr. Hong. And I'll probably just ask you about what is available from COFIC for co-productions.
We have two programs. One is International Co-Production Incentive, and the other is Location Incentive. Let me briefly introduce International Co-Production Incentive. It started in 2012, last year. It's supposed to give 25% cash rebate against production expenditure incurred for goods and services in Korea, with a cap of 0.5 million US. We have some requirements: only feature film, only feature film with 20% or more foreign investments. We do not animation or documentary is not available. And at least $1 million should be spent in Korea. And co-production at hand should be regarded as Korean film under Korean law and COFIC regulation, which means it should obtain 25 points out of 100 points from COFIC qualification scale. Maybe this scale is from UniFrance or so?
It's
Maybe.
probably based on the UniFrance system, where you get, for instance, 2 points for a director, or 2 poinms for a producer, one
something
for,
like that. Yeah.
You probably can look that up on the site.
This co-production incentive is aims to global networking or training Korean staffs. The other program, location incentive program, we developed it since 2011. It also has 25% cash rebate. We love 25%. 25% cash rebate against the production expenditure incurred for goods and services in Korea. The requirements, originally, it required $1 million spent in Korea, and at least 10 days of shooting shooting has been done in Korea. But we evaluated the program about 2 weeks ago. We still have budgets, but in 2011, only three applicants applied. In last year, there were only 2 applicants. So, although we have money, and we should consume the money, but there were a very small number of applicants. So we try to devise the scheme by reducing the requirements. We lowered the requirements to 0.5 million to be spent in Korea, and 7 days shooting is enough. I mean, 1 million has been reduced to half, and 10 days has been reduced to 7 days. This program is not for global networking or not for training Korean staffs. It's just for tourism purposes. We want to show Korean streets or Korean things to foreigners and attract more tourists to Korea. That's why we want to spend money. As I said before, we have money, but there's no applications. So please come to Korea to apply.
Come, make it look good, you know, and they'll be happy. I think some of the motivation behind that sort of tourism sort of focused filmmaking, I think, or incentives to get films to shoot in Korea for that came from the early Korean wave. Yeah. Because, I mean, as much as we know Korean films as part of the Korean wave, I think, you know, K-pop and also Korean TV dramas were a big thing, and dramas like Winter Sonata or Jewel in the Palace, we suddenly realized that people from Japan, China, and even America were coming to see the locations of these places where Bae Yong-joon kissed whoever it was that was playing against him, and they want to go and see and stay and eat food. And so that's basically the motivation behind this support program. So basically, I think the criteria is everything that Mr. Hong was talking about, and the only dissuasion against being eligible might be that you make Korea look so awful that tourists would think, oh, that's a terrible place to go, it's dangerous. But that's not necessarily in the regulation. So it's not, I mean, I don't even think that they would be against gangster movies being shot there or anything like that. So just as long as you're respectful of the culture, I think, and the better you make Korea look, the more eligible you probably are. But that's probably just something to keep in mind when you're pitching for this. And like you said, there aren't enough applicants, so you could almost by default get some money, which is not a bad thing. I might just go to UNIJAPAN now, just for a comparison of what they're offering compared to COFIC and Kenta.
Before I talk about the co-production certification program, I think I should explain a little bit about the UNIJAPAN, because it's a little bit confusing because we organize this subsidy program and also Tokyo International Film Festival, which is the biggest film festival in Japan, also TIFFCOM, which is a market held during the Tokyo International Film Festival. And I will talk about both the subsidy program and the TIFFCOM project market. So in Japan, it's more like a combined COFIC and the Busan Film Festival. It's more like international department of COFIC and Busan Film Festival. And the UNIJAPAN itself is a really old organization. It's established in 1950s, but it had not been so active, and it's almost invisible. Even like a Japanese film industry, people don't know it existed. So, and but it had been like that up until like 10 years ago. The government sponsored us for a couple of projects, and it actually, UNIJAPAN joined to Tokyo International Film Festival in 2005, and also TIFFCOM joined us in 2011. So that's why I will talk about both co-production market, also a subsidy program. I would like to start to explain about the UNIJAPAN Co-Production Certification Program. This certification is essential to apply to subsidy program, co-production subsidy program for Agency for Cultural Affairs. You basically need to take two steps to get subsidies for this subsidy program. And first, you have to apply to UNIJAPAN Certification Program. And once you get the certification from UNIJAPAN, you can apply to subsidy program for Agency for Cultural Affairs. So, and we organize actually this certification process. Actually, I want to explain you the detail of the certification program, but if you are interested, I can give you all the information here. And the project must be at least it's at least 100 million yen. Yes, 100 million yen is about 1 million euro. And the subsidies covers like 20% of the total budget, so up to 500,000 yen, which is wait. 20,000. Okay, it's up to half of the million euro actually.
Okay, is that right? Someone doing the math out there?
Well, actually, 50 million Japanese yen, which is 500,000 euro, right? So yeah, that's covered by the subsidy program. And there's a evaluation criteria for this certification and also a subsidy program. The minimum, the 20% of the total budget comes from Japanese production companies, and at least 5% the total budget comes from foreign companies. And we also have a creative contribution point system. That's a reference from UniFrance, actually, the same as a COFIC, I guess. And you have to get at least 3 points out of 15 points. And it's not really difficult to get all the 3 points, because if the director is like a Japanese, you can get 2 points already. So 3 points is not really difficult things to get. And
we should mention that there are also like below the line points that you can get, even if your director isn't Japanese and your producer isn't Japanese, if you're using a costume designer or so on, you can get points, and it's a pass-fail kind of thing. So it's not as if you get more, you're more eligible if you have more points. You just need to fulfill the criteria of 3 points.
And also, I want to talk about application period, because it's really confusing, even for Japanese producers. UNIJAPAN, for giving a certification, we actually accept application like throughout the year, so you can submit anytime you want, basically. But if you want to submit to a subsidy program of Agency for Cultural Affairs, submitting period is only like about 10 days every year. So we actually set up the deadline for the certification program to submit subsidy program for Agency for Cultural Affairs. And actually, fiscal year 2013, which starts in Japan, which starts from April in 2013 and ends in March in 2014, the deadline of the certification program has been already passed, and it was November 16th. And once you get a certification from UNIJAPAN, the selection committee will be held next month. Once you get the certification from UNIJAPAN, then you can apply to a subsidy program for Agency Cultural Affairs, and they accept application between January 7th and 18th in 2013, and this is actually most important thing for the producers. Once your project is selected by our Agency for Cultural Affairs, you have to complete your film by March 2014, which is the end of the fiscal year 2013 in Japan. So otherwise, if you cannot complete the film, you cannot get the subsidy. So this is really important to keep it in your mind for the subsidy.
So, sorry, just for those, I mean, since this year's 2013's application deadline is already over, for people who want to plan ahead, what would, around what time would they have to apply for 2014's fiscal year?
Well, actually, we do not announce officially the date of the deadline, but it will be probably the same period, actually, for the fiscal year 2014. The deadline will be the November of 2013, so it's a little bit complicated.
So definitely pick up these little flyers that we have outside. You have all the point systems and the dates that you can keep in mind, sort of put that in your smartphone or on your diary to keep in mind for applying. Because as Kenta said, you have to get certification first to be eligible for the subsidy, and then the Agency of Culture will decide whether they can give you the subsidy or not.
A question to Kenta.
Yes.
What's the purpose of the global co-production project? Is it for global networking or?
Well, actually, the main purpose is for acquiring a global market for Japanese films, and domestic market of Japan is quite strong. Actually, it's the second biggest market after the U.S. Probably will be third this year after China, or, probably, but it's still big. And for the last 10 years, national Japanese film is quite success in the box office, and sometimes they're just way too domestic, and they cannot find the reason to go to the outside of Japan. But this is only applies to Japanese major companies. Looking at like a small size or medium size of the Japanese companies, they are still struggling to make money in the domestic market. So I think that's a really this subsidy program gives motivation to those producers to go to look outside of Japan, and I think that's the main purpose for.
Do you think your program is successful?
We'll see. It's just started from the last year, and
how many applicants are there?
Well, actually, for the first year, people are really aggressive to submit because it's kind of really big step for Japanese film industry to make this subsidy program. And so we got 26 applications for a certification program. Mm-hmm. And out of 26, 13 films got certification, and then 5 projects got a subsidy, actually. And one of them is actually like Someone in Love, directed by Abbas Kiarostami, which is a competition section in Cannes this year. And it's also shown in Tallinn, too.
Okay.
Oh, I guess, yeah, we can watch a couple of trailers before we all get to ADD. Just, I guess, while we're getting the trailers on, just to mention for those of you who aren't too familiar, sorry.
That's My Way.
Yeah, watch My Way, which was shot in Latvia. Big war film from Korea.
Two men in a lifelong rivalry when the world was about to change. A victory is shrouded by corruption and pride. One man is taken prisoner and forced to fight for the nation that destroyed his dreams. Then, he was reunited with his fated enemy at the battlefront.
Желающие, одевайте форму советской армии!
Once enemies, they become bound together by a will to survive. From the acclaimed director who transformed Asian cinema comes an incredible story about World War II and is inspiring audiences around the world.
俺たち遠くまで来てしまったか。ここから形状まで走ったらどれぐらいかかるか。
My Way.
It's worth, I guess, mentioning that because I heard in the earlier panel people asking about actors and investment, and those 3 actors that you saw, Chang Dong-gon from Korea, and Odagiri Jo, or Jo Odagiri from Japan, and Fan Bingbing from China. I mean, already that's very multinational. Already their names, they're very well known, and it helps in getting investment, not necessarily box office, which is always a different thing, but investors get excited when they see names like that. And actually I think this trailer sort of presupposes that you know that Korea was colonized by Japan for about 35 years, and that's why there's all this conflict between the Chang Dong-gon character and the Odagiri Jo character. But we might speak about, I'll ask Kenta about some of the pitfalls that you can worry about when doing a co-production, and that might tie into that later. Yeah, we can share the next one, I think. The last one was subsidized by Japan, UNIJAPAN.
Yes, and it probably is the most successful case. And for this year, we have already selected 4 films, and now they are in the production. So that means they have to complete their films by the end of the fiscal year, which is March 2013.
So it's the Agency of Culture that lets you know, right? If you're getting the subsidy or not. When do they let you know? Because you apply sometime in November and you have to finish your film by late March, right?
Well, actually, the selection committee for Agency for Cultural Affairs, it's only once a year. So this year, probably they inform applicants if they get a subsidy or not in June. So they have like 10 months to complete the film.
So also just very quickly going back to what Kenta was talking about, how the Japanese local market is very strong. It's the second largest film market. And as you were saying, maybe because of the explosive growth of China, it might be third, but still it's a huge market. And it's very developed locally, so their films are very popular with the Japanese audiences. And it's almost enough just to sustain that way for the major studios. And so, because they're so local, they don't sell very well abroad. But at the same time, these films are mostly produced by consortium. So you'll have, say, a major distributor like Toho, I guess, and then there'll be an advertising agency, a talent management agency, newspaper agency. A lot of the time, they're all related or affiliated with each other. And because they're all like different, they're a committee, and so you know what committees do, they usually end up going with the safest, easiest route possible, which makes the film often boring or less interesting for international audiences. They'll go for tested best-selling novels or manga and so on. And so what's usually really interesting for us internationally, I think, is the films that come from the smaller independent producers, like Yuki Akito, who was going to be here, but unfortunately, because of the enormous amount of work that she does as an independent producer, I think she's fallen ill. But it's films like, I think, Tokyo Sonata and maybe Departures, or actually Departures was also, it's a
shochiku film.
Yeah, it's a shochiku film, so it's also a studio film. But some of the directors that are slightly more interesting for international audiences, a little riskier, like the risk takers, they're struggling because even though Japan is such a rich market, it's hard for them to get financing because they're not safe. And so there's a great opportunity for you to partner with them and then go for this co-production subsidy.
Just to say that it's not like, I mean, it's exactly true is that, for example, I had a meeting with Shinya Tsukamoto, who is one of the greatest Japanese film directors, also took the award from Tallinn last year. And his caliber filmmakers are actually really looking for, European partners to make their films. So, you can really have, I mean, literally like in Estonia or a Latvian producer or I don't know, a Finnish producer making a film with, Shinya Tsukamoto, which obviously, is a great chance for, upgrade for local industries.
Yeah, he's a known name. He travels to international film festivals. His films sell internationally. It's just that at the very beginning, the initiating stage of getting investment in Japan, it's very difficult for people like them. So again, if you can find someone that you want to partner with in that way, you could end up getting, equity or whatever rights, and it could be more profitable than just staying within your own locality.
And, I mean, at the same time, also at Tokyo Project Market, for example, in which I also participated this year to check projects, there is like one very high concept Japanese-French documentary film. Which might have an Estonian documentary producer attached because it's about Siberia and it's about tribes and it's a very natural bridging. And also there is a feature film, quite big. I can't, Kenta film, but I can't remember the title right now. I can give the information. They're looking also a production partner to do major shooting, in this part of the world again for the thing. So the opportunity is really and the interest is there.
And also, just the more that people travel to this area, I think it's fantastic how Tallinn is showing so many Asian films and also US films, and you get all these producers and directors and filmmakers together. And it's not so strange or unfamiliar or scary anymore to work with one another. So just, it's not lip service, it's actual, it's practical advantages, I think, of traveling to film festivals and going to project markets. So I will let Kenta talk a little bit about the TIFFCOM project market.
Actually, for this project, we used to have a project market during Tokyo International Film Festival, which was called TPG, Tokyo Project Gathering. And since TIFFCOM actually joined UNIJAPAN, we renamed the project market. It's just called TIFFCOM Project Market. But the difference between TPG and the TIFFCOM Project Market, we are trying to get major studios involved in the project market, because for foreign producers it's very hard to even set up a meeting with producers in major companies such as Toei, Toho, Shochiku, Kadokawa. So we actually succeeded to set up meetings with producers from Toho. Well, actually, Toho didn't come, but Toei. No. Toei, Shochiku, Kadokawa, and Nikkatsu, and all the participants from the outside of Japan, they are pretty satisfied to have an opportunity to have meetings with those guys, because like producers who travels to many project market or film festivals, they do not really work for major studios. They are just independent filmmakers, such as Yukie Kito. So we have been trying to raise their interest in co-production films, and yeah, that's the main purpose for project market in Tokyo. And I think it's just comparing to Hong Kong or Busan, it's just way too early for us to call it actually project market, because it's not really still, even though we succeeded to set up a meeting with major studios, it's very hard to get money from them. So it's just, so I prefer to call it more like a networking project program. So, and probably, I hope, in, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, they get more involved in the project market.
I just wanted to say that as much as the word networking is used so often that it's almost meaningless in our industry, it is really worthwhile to go to the Tokyo to TIFFCOM project market or HAF or wherever, and really get to meet, as you said, Toei, Toho, if they come along, all these major studios, and sort of give them an idea of whether you get a deal immediately or not. Just sort of tilling the soil and putting in the legwork to give them ideas, because they are slowly realizing that the Japanese market is very insular, and there is a limit to, there's so much other entertainment out there besides films these days. And the younger generation is going for, watching stuff on their iPhones and so on. And so they are starting to look outward, but you have to give them ideas of what's out there and what's possible. And this is, what you can do there. And also just, as a footnote, I remember talking to Terrence Chang once, producer to John Woo, and he mentioned at least one time when he went to a project market, it was probably either Hong Kong or Busan, but he went with a project and they'd be pitching, and there are several tables and several different teams, and in between meetings they'd end up talking with other project teams, and he mentioned at least one example of when he ended up working with the filmmakers at the other table on a different project, even before the project that he was pitching at that market came to fruition. So that can also be interesting. You just keep your options open and new things can come from. Sorry.
Yeah, one good example is the Jungban project, because I've known her for 2 years, but I stepped, Kenta I think introduced me to Jungban in the Tokyo project market, and like 2 years later, she's actually scouting for a major Korean movie to be hopefully shot in Estonia. So
Right.
Things happen.
Things happen. I mean, Oh Jong-won was one of the first Korean producers to start working on co-productions. And again, in Busan, I think one of the sort of watershed moments was that they, a bunch of Hong Kong, Thai, Korean producers were drinking on the street, as we do in Busan, or as we used to do in Busan, and they thought, well, we're all major players in our own territories, but maybe we should get together and do something. And what was born of that was two different films, like omnibus horror films called, I think it was 3. Because it was always 3 countries. And that was one thing. I mean, networking actually does work, especially in these smaller contexts. I think that was probably back in 97 or 98 when Busan was much smaller than it is now. So being in a place like Tallinn where you can intimately meet people and actually have a relaxed meal or drink with them is great. I think places like Udine Far East Film Festival as well, and when they're less structured, actually, things can also happen. And at the same time, but obviously there are bigger benefits to participating in structured meetings with, at Tokyo or Hong Kong or Busan. And so I will let Matthew talk to you a little bit about, or a lot about Hong Kong Asian Film Financing Forum.
Our film financing forum is called Hong Kong Asia Film Financing Forum, or HAF, or HAF, in short. Basically, we established this financing forum in year 2000, and then we stopped in between. So last year was, in March this year, was the 10th edition of our film financing forum. And we organized this film financing forum basically to provide a platform for the filmmakers to meet with the investors and financiers. And as Jen just said, it is not just a place that you can immediately get a deal, or you can definitely get your film finance. It is more like relationship building process. And each year, basically in our film financing forum, we would select roughly 30 projects. Last year, we got 283 applications, and we shortlist these applications into 30. And basically, when we look at the past, back in 2006, we got only 2 co-production projects. But last year, we got 6. And 6 of them, among the 6 co-production projects, 5 of them are either US Asian co-production projects or European Asia co-production projects. Last year, we had film, like some documentaries projects with like Hong Kong, France, and UK, and Japan, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. So we have, I think in future, there are more and more co-production going on in Asia, and Hong Kong is basically a regional hub in Asia, and because it is like tied to China, so the Chinese investors or the Chinese filmmakers would like naturally go to have to either submit a project to look for investors elsewhere, or they would look for a project in HAF to finance. And at the other side, European filmmakers or US filmmakers also would submit projects to us to try to tap into the Chinese market. So we provide a platform for like these people to mingle and hopefully to get some deals done at the very end. And basically, we over the past like 10 years, we got pretty good results. We had a project which is Japan, Hong Kong, and the Netherlands co-production, which is called Tokyo Sonata. This is the project got the jury prize in Uncertain regarding Cannes Film Festival, and we also had some Cannes Best Director, like the Cannes winning director submitting projects to us, like the Philippines director,
Brilante
Lente Mendoza, and some other.
Wei Ta-sheng, I guess.
Wei Ta-sheng,
just off the top of my
exactly.
head. Taiwanese director who really sort of lent a lot of strength to the local films in their box office, which was previously dominated by Hollywood films. His Cape No. 7 was like the hugest hit, and his second film, Warriors of the Rainbow, right, was at HAF, and that later went on to, I think was it Directors Fortnight in Cannes or Berlin? Several festivals.
It was in competition in Venice.
Right, Venice.
And we have the trailer, and it's running in the festival as well.
Okay, yeah, so you can see that in the festival, Warriors of the Rainbow, right?
Yeah, correct.
Wei Ta-sheng, if you want to check that out.
Yep.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about what kind of awards are available, and also because there is, it's nice to have a little padding incentive, whether you get a deal or not, and also what other kind of media exposure you get when you go to HAF.
In terms of the awards, we have some cash awards and non-cash awards. For the cash awards, we had 2 HAF awards, which valued roughly $20,000 US each. One for the Hong Kong project and one for non-Hong Kong project. And we also sponsored by Walter Branchett Film Foundation, and they offer a cash award roughly around like 6,000 US. It's not big money, but it's sort of like a token of appreciation and to appreciate your effort and we also had cash award for Chinese script, and if your project has a Chinese script, then you're eligible to apply for that. The winner would get roughly $12,000 to $13,000, and basically, in order to apply, you don't really need to have like a whole bunch of information. Basically, because we have a few categories that you can apply. The first one is the HF project. You don't need to have a treatment even. You can just have a synopsis, director's profile, producer profile, the production company, director statement. That's it, and you are eligible to apply for that. And for the Chinese script fund, then obviously you would need to have a Chinese script. And we also collaborate with Fox International Production, which is the Chinese arm of Fox US. They would pick some projects from our pool to develop that project in like suitable for the Chinese market. And last year they picked 5 projects, and they signed a first look deal with these finalists, and the winner would be able to get roughly US $13,000, as well as a development contract with Fox International Productions. Yes.
So yes, there are definitely incentives to go to HAF. Like Matthew was saying before, it's, Hong Kong is the bridgeway or the gateway to China, and as large and tumultuous and ever-changing as China is, it's usually good to be safely based with a Hong Kong partner,
yes.
and that qualifies you to be like looked upon as a Chinese production in China, and that gives you the benefits of their quota system and everything else as well.
Oh,
so.
Yes. And one more thing we'd like to mention is that in order to apply, you either have an Asian filmmaker attached to the project, either producer or director, or the project itself is related to Asia, like Asian family story happened in the US. That qualifies as well. And have also, because Hong Kong has a TV and film market, happens together with HAF at the same time in the same venue. So there are a whole bunch of US and European distributors and financiers would come to Hong Kong to buy films, and they also go to HAF to look for projects as well. So like last year, we had Fudesaka films to pick projects from our pool, and Bio Bunch is the European company. They would also attend our forum because we hold the free market as well as our film financing forum in the same place, so it is easier for the filmmakers to drop by and take a look at projects.
Right, that market is called Hong Kong Film Mart, if you want to know. And yes, it is all in one huge convention venue, and they have market screenings in the same huge building. And you'll see sales agents / producers, running around to meetings to sell their product, and at the same time look for new projects at HAF that they might end up developing or selling with rights. So that's also really beneficial. It's, I mean, you can't emphasize enough how useful it is to be at HAF if you're looking at the China market, which again is huge.
Yes.
And also we were talking a little bit about Chinese investors, how they're slightly different from maybe US investors.
Yes, correct. For the Chinese investors, I think that one interesting thing I noticed is that they invest in the film may not necessarily want to get a profit from the film, because usually these companies have like many different other businesses ongoing. So other than the film business, they may invest in, I don't know, real estate as well. So sometimes they invest in the film. They would like to, of course, they would like to get a return on film, but they would also like to get their name established so that it can help them to do other business in China. So this is a very interesting thing I noticed. And yeah, so and some Chinese investors would definitely look for, like, because the China is more open than before, and they are willing to collaborate with different filmmakers elsewhere, not only like other than the Asian filmmakers, but also the US and the European filmmakers. And last year, like the Expendables, one of the investors was Levision in China, and they also like come to HAF to look for projects. So I think this is a way for the Chinese investors to try to like get more like exposure, or try to tap into the market elsewhere to try to see if there are any other opportunities other than in China.
Right, that sort of happened to a similar degree, not exactly the same, but similarly in Korea at one point, maybe like 2005 to 2008 or so, where you had, I don't know, like jeans companies who wanted to have a sexy film, like they wanted to be involved in filmmaking, and there was a huge bubble there. Although I'm not so sure, there's much more money in China and many more people that would be willing to, but I would just say grab it while you can, because they could get very smart very quickly, or they could turn to some other industry. So, but it's interesting now for that reason. And just very briefly, to mention that if you go to HAF or Pusan, for instance, in Hong Kong Film Mart, Screen International, which I work for, runs dailies, and so we do profiles of all the HAF projects.
Yep,
and we sort of, and of course you have the regular catalog that each project market has with the director's statement and so on, but what we do is we pull out what makes it interesting for investors or sales agents and just put it right there in front of your face so that you can know, what everyone's looking for something slightly different probably. So, and your project will get that kind of exposure. And that sort of helps because, if you have 30 projects and you're looking through a catalog and you don't know the difference between Wei Tosheng and Sumabuki Satoshi, then it helps to see someone, like a UK trade paper that tells you why this person is important and what they did before, and maybe they're important for someone else but not you, that kind of thing. So yes, and I think just we'll continue with HAF, I think, but since we're talking about exposure, maybe we'll go to Mr. Nam from Busan, from the Asian projects market, which also this year Screen also did profiles for those projects as well, and he can tell you what kind of projects that they look for at APM.
Hi everyone, my name is Nam, in charge of Asian film market and Asian project market. Asian project market, simply APM, is mostly similar to HAF. It's one of the project market, a little bit older than HAF. APM is held during Busan International Film Festival. Busan International Film Festival is one of the biggest film festivals in Asia. And APM is oldest project market in Asia. We are modeling from Rotterdam Cinemat. And we select almost 30 projects every year. We are open to the world, including non-Asian projects. There are 3 films nurtured by APM in this film festival, Tallinn Black Night Film Festival. Our Homeland, directed by Yang Young-hee, and Postcard from the Jew, directed by Edwin, and The Thieves, directed by Choi Dong-hun. 3 films started from Asian project market in Busan. And we have 8 awards in our project market. Among 8, 6 awards are cash award, and the other 2 is in-kind award. And in addition, we also have some programs to support independent filmmakers. We have Asian Cinema Fund to support independent filmmakers. Asian Cinema Fund is giving money or in-kind to Asian directors project. I brought some leaflets about Asian Cinema Fund. There are table on the entrance, at the entrance. I put some leaflets. If you are interested in, just look this information.
All right, just very quickly, there's script development funds and also production funds and also post-production support, which, you know, there are a lot of post-production houses in Korea that sort of grew up around that boom that I was talking about earlier, 2006 or even before that. But they're highly capable crew or, you know, post-production specialists, and as Oh Jong-won was saying earlier in the panel, they can work all night if you treat them properly. And that sort of, I've noticed a lot through, I think one of the things that really makes me love Busan, as frustrating as it can be sometimes, just being Korean, is that Asian Cinema Fund is, I think it's just beautiful because it really helps people develop their things. And I mean, Aditya Asarat, who's sort of a graduate of that, he's a Thai filmmaker who did Wonderful Town, which received an ACF fund. I think it was for post-production. And he was saying to me that it's like you're an independent producer and you have your vision and you're going along, but it's always great, you know, you're always second guessing yourself. So at some point it's really good just to be recognized by someone and to get a little lift for them to tell you that, yeah, you're going in the right direction, keep on going. And his film screened in Busan and won the New Currents Award that year, I think. Yep. And it went to Rotterdam. And also, that just to sidetrack for a minute, it's really interesting what the Thais are doing because they use Busan very well. They take advantage of it very well. Aditya is now producing for other people that worked with him. He produced 36, which I think maybe it was a scriptwriter or someone else who was on his crew for other films, and now she's directed something, and that won the New Currents Award this year. And there's Lee Chatametakul, who edited films for Aditya again, and also Apichapong Wirasathakul of Cannes Award fame. And he is now directing, his project was in half, I believe, a couple years ago. And so they're all sort of team tagging, like, Kenta will direct something while I produce it, and then next year I'll direct something that Mr. Hong will produce. And so they're really nurturing that that industry down there, and they're totally taking advantage of these project markets and the funds that are available. And I think it's a great model that you can sort of look at and maybe follow. So I'll just let Mr. get back to.
One more example: Estonian producer here, Arthur and Tatiana. Got the Asian Cinema Fund a few years ago. The project was Rainbow. It's a Uzbekistan directors project. Asian Cinema Fund is for Asian directors, so the director should be from Asian nationality. But Estonian producer, Arthur and Tatiana, can get the get the Asian Cinema Fund because of the Uzbekistan, the director attached. And in addition, I would like to inform one more thing. We have a co-production workshop called Ties That Bind. I brought some leaflets as well on the desk at the entrance. Ties That Bind is a co-production workshop. We selected 10 projects, 5 from Asia and 5 from Europe. If you have a co-production project related to Asia, you could apply. There are two workshops. One is held in Udine Film Festival, and the other in the Pusan International Film Festival. And we select 10 projects and bring 10 producers to Udine first, and there will be a kind of meetings and training or discussions, and then they are coming to Busan again, and again there's a 5 days workshop for producers, the same producers. So they develop the project and then meet again and in Busan. And in Busan there are film market and project market, so there are many industry guests. So the workshop producers could meet the industry guests in Busan during the film festival and during the film market. Okay.
Yeah, I think just because we're running out of time and Sten is texting me that he has to go to an interview, I think just very quickly, maybe if anyone wants to talk about pitfalls that we should avoid when we're looking at co-productions. I think we sort of gave you a little trailer of what Kenta wanted to say about politics perhaps getting involved, which I don't know if it's that important for people coming from the Baltics, but we might talk about that a little bit. And then if you have any questions, get them ready so we can just shoot over to you. Sten, do you have a question before you leave?
I just, probably for some of the people, thinking that, to go to Busan, or to go to HAF, it's very difficult, and we don't have any joint points. But I think it's actually something that can bring very good benefits to the local filmmakers, because as I said, I mean, this is could be our bandwagon to Cannes or Berlin to anywhere else.
Because,
And a good example, for example, right now is a Turkish producer called Engin Yenidunya, and he produced a film called Cut, which was
Amir Nadiri's.
Amir Nadiri's film, which, I think it was Engin's second film, but he's Turkish, he's living in Tokyo, and director is Iranian. Film shot in Japan for quite low budget, but at the same time, it was the opening film for the Venice Horizonte. So, here's a guy who does his second feature, goes to these markets. I think he was also in APM with it because they put the post-production support. So,
Asian Cinema Fund.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so exactly, things happened.
Yeah, and you definitely don't have to be limited to your region. I mean, we all know that. That's why we're sitting here. But I've forgotten what I was going to say, but I'll just let Kenta tell you about what he was worried about.
Well, actually, well, as I told you, we have this co-production subsidy program for the last 2 years. And first year, we got 26 applications, and second year we got 13 applications. And half of the projects is a co-production between Japan and either South Korea or China. And I don't know if you know this, the situation now between Japan and China, Japan and South Korea. There's a couple of, there's some political intention between the countries. And actually, for the fiscal, as I told you, for the fiscal year 2013, the deadline has been already passed. And we are so surprised that we got application of co-production between South Korea is actually zero. And we got only one application that co-production between China. So it's only my personal opinion, but probably sometime the political intention kind of affects the co-production films, and sometimes it can be risky to work with one certain country sometime. Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, it is worth mentioning, you know, there was one film that tried to pull out of Tokyo Film Festival because it wasn't, the film itself was not political at all. It was a wonderful film, and I am glad that they showed it in the end. But the reason why the producer wanted, or one of the many producers wanted to pull it, was that there is this tension going on between China and Japan over a pile of rocks, Senkaku Islands, and also known as Diaoyu Islands in Chinese. And also Korea has almost the same kind of deal, where Dokdo, which I forget how to say it in Japanese, but there are these tensions, like I was referring to, you know, Japan occupied parts of Asia where it was not welcome. Although we all love each other now, there are on the governmental diplomatic levels, there are still unresolved issues, and people can get political about that, and sometimes even producers can use that to, I don't know, for PR advantage. I think there are suspicions of that as well. But it's always good to remember that you're working with nations, and when you're coming to Asia, you're also a representative of whatever country you're coming from, and especially if you're from, say, the Baltics, you're probably likely to be the first person that other counterpart is working with from that area, and it's kind of up to you to show them, you know, the capabilities and how trustworthy you are, and the working styles and the communication, which is always so important in co-productions. So that's, and you can, there are always headaches on film productions, but there's also that. And you can sort of enjoy that at the same time, that you'll be that ambassador. But if anyone else has any pitfalls that they want to mention, anything that you should worry about or just be aware of?
I have, it's not a pitfall, but I would like to say that some people who join the like Film Financing Forum, they would expect that they can get money immediately, but it is not really the case, because we had a project called Bodyguard Assassins in 2003, and it was released in 2008, and it was a big hit in Hong Kong, Thailand, and China. So it took 5 years for the director to get the money from like our platform and also elsewhere. So it is not, don't get disappointed if you like join a forum and then you get no money at the end, because but other than money, you develop the relationship network, and I think this is more important.
Like I was saying earlier, other things can happen through that network. I think we'll start taking questions from the floor if you have anything you want to ask while we have this panel on stage. Anyone? Do we just cover everything so thoroughly that you don't have any questions? Oh, there's one back there.
Matthew, you were saying that China investors, profit is not the most important thing to them. So what?
I cannot say that it is not important, but I think they have other agenda as well. So of course they would like to invest in a project that can earn money for them. But their another agenda would be that if they get involved in like some production with big directors or like big stars, then it would help them in other business as well. So that they would like to invest in film projects that they feel that is potentially beneficial to them.
Right. So that would mean that the most important criteria is perhaps the director or star names?
Yeah, in China, I think so at the moment, yes.
And does it have to be China-recognized names, or?
For the Chinese market, yes, basically. But I think that the more it open up the Chinese market, the more the opportunity for other people, like European filmmakers or US filmmakers, to get known in China. And I think, yes.
Yeah, I think just Chinese film viewers are, interestingly, as few foreign films are allowed to screen in China because of the quota, there's still a huge amount of piracy that goes on, and you would be amazed at how knowledgeable audiences are just because they have really high quality pirated DVDs and so on. So yeah, if there are any other questions, maybe one more, or I'm sure, like, since I think we have run out of time. If you have any questions, I think we're going to be around for a day or two more, a little less jet lag perhaps in the evening, and we'll be outside if you have any other questions and want to trade cards or anything. Thank you very much. Thank you.